Hey, welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always, Mr. Bo Brock, rocking a gorgeous PHNX lid that you can get right now at the PHNX merchandise locker. Much better than some ridiculous hat that we saw on Twitter earlier, Bo. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to Aaron Donald, throw him in prison. But first, I want to say hello to my co-host, Bo Brock.
What's up, Johnny? Yeah, I'm wearing the nice lid that you can get, I believe, for $19.99 in the PHNX summer sale. I mean, get it while it's hot. Look at that, 50% off select items. You can get yourself a nice lid. You can get some great Bird Gang paraphernalia. It's going to be nice. It's just in time to get you geared up for the 2022 NFL season. And Johnny, as we say this, we have an incredible new shirt that's going to be unveiled soon.
Yes, soon. Not mañana, but soon. It's the best shirt we've ever done in the history of this company, and I can't wait for you to see it. What's up, everybody? What's good? Picking spreads. We're doing well. And yeah, let's get to the teaser here. So yesterday, Bo Brock, it was reported late that Cowboys left tackle Tyron Smith, probably eventual Hall of Famer, Pro Bowler on that offensive line year in and year out, tore his hamstring. He's going to be out indefinitely. A big man like that, I would not expect to see him before Thanksgiving, if not, out for the entire season. They lost multiple pieces on their offensive line in free agency. Their right tackle, Layla Collins, went to Cincinnati. So they are decimated with injuries up front. They lose Amari Cooper. Their offense is struggling, right? So, I sat back yesterday, and we've already been gifted Hollywood Brown, right? Cody Ford was kind of a curveball out of left field. And I think the narrative with Cardinal fans is that, number one, CeeDee Lamb should have been an Arizona Cardinal since day one. And what can we get, Naj, in the chat, to bring CeeDee Lamb here to Arizona? It's not as crazy as it would sound that the Cardinals and Cowboys would pair up to do some kind of trade. I'm not saying that CeeDee Lamb would be involved. I mean, in my perfect world, he would be. But for the first time, Bo Brock, in the Cardinals' history since I've followed the team, they have a surplus of offensive tackles. Josh Jones, as we've seen in the preseason, as we've seen in training camp, you've been to practice every day, looks like a ready-made starter, a plus starter at either left or right tackle. Tyron, of course, plays left tackle. Josh Jones grew up in Houston, of course, went to the University of Houston, right? Has somebody that's been developed over time by an offensive-minded head coach, Cliff Kingsbury and Sean Kugler. Am I crazy to believe that, number one, there could be a trade scenario in which the Dallas Cowboys could come sniffing around? And also, if you're the Cardinals, are you entertaining those conversations with Dallas to get better elsewhere?
It's a bit of a yoga stretch, right? I just don't think that this is a trade partner. It's not somebody you want to get into discussions with, just because it's going to be when you're NFC foes. I mean, it's something where you don't want to help them get better, and you don't want to, I mean, obviously, if you can reunite CeeDee Lamb, fine, but does that at the end of the day make you better? It's already a strength, your wide receiver core. You're doing it for the future. But, also helping out Dak Prescott, like Dallas Cowboys, I don't think that the Arizona Cardinals should be in business doing that. And that's, not even getting into the conversation that Jerry Jones would probably never even entertain trading CeeDee Lamb.
So I posed this yesterday. I would put a package together, and producer extraordinaire Emma put together some graphics. Bo and I have not seen trade proposals yet that he and I both did, calling up Dallas and saying, you want some offensive line help? Here's what we're asking for. Here's what we're offering. Let me go first, Bo, because this is what I put together. I want everybody's feedback in the chat. I want your feedback. I'm calling up Jerry Jones today. I'm Steve Keim. I want CeeDee Lamb. I want to pair CeeDee Lamb with Hollywood Brown long-term. This is a long-term play. I know everybody's like freaking out because the Cardinals have a bunch of tackles and a bunch of wide receivers this year. CeeDee Lamb's a baby. He's going to be in Arizona for the next 10 years with Hollywood Brown, with Kyler Murray. Give me CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys in return get Josh Jones, who, number one, the Cowboys need one thing: cap space relief. Their cap space is horrific. Tyron Smith makes a ton of money. Does Zeke, everybody. Josh Jones makes no money as a third-round pick. He's not in a contract year. You get minimum 2 years cheap labor. You double that down. Okay, they need help at receiver anyway before giving up CeeDee Lamb. Here's Rondell Moore, who I know he's a little bit nicked up now. People are overreacting. He's going to be healthy by the time the season starts, we presume. ascending second-year player, Andy Isabella, who I think would crack the top 4 in their rotation, right, with Michael Gallup and company. And then also that third-round compensated supplemental pick, or excuse me, the comp pick that the Cardinals got for Christian Kirk, coincidentally enough, another wide receiver. That's a package that maybe lacks with star power, and Lamb made the Pro Bowl last year, but can help Dallas continue to get over the hump in the NFC East. Depth is key for them. They don't have it at receiver. They certainly don't have it at tackle. And, put a sweetener on there. There's a day 2 pick for you, Jerry Jones. So on the clock right now. And it's funny, Bo Brock, like I posed this kind of, hearsay, shooting the shit on Twitter yesterday. Cowboy fans said that's not enough. Cardinal fans said, don't trade Rondale Moore. That's too much. They were trying to do packages surrounding Andy Isabella. I'm like, guys, you can't be infatuated with CeeDee Lamb and then also say that, the centerpiece of a trade would include Andy Isabella for him. So that is my official trade proposal to Jerry Jones. Your thoughts?
All right. My thoughts are, if the Dallas Cowboys in a single offseason, trade Amari Cooper to the Browns, they trade CeeDee Lamb to the Cardinals, and they lose left tackle Tyron Smith, they're doing their guy, Dak Prescott, an incredible disservice. Like it doesn't, I mean, to try to spruce up a deal involving Andy Isabella, it's just not going to happen. I think Dallas would be better served, obviously, holding on to CeeDee Lamb and then trying to find somebody serviceable to play at the left tackle position. Now, my boy, you're starting to sound like my old co-host.
I'm a positive guy. We're having a good time here.
Look, I know, and I think that I can't believe we went from talking joint practice and we have all this momentum that we're back into silly season all of a sudden. No. I'm here for, look, CeeDee Lamb's not going anywhere, right? And I just don't think Dallas is a good trade partner. I think I don't mind your trade. I don't mind talking about this. This is fun. This is what it's supposed to be.
As you're being negative. Fan. I don't like it. Stop being
negative. I'm not being negative. I'm trying to be as positive as possible for this exercise. My God.
I sent Bo a message this morning. I said, do you want to talk about this? Is this too clickbaity? And you said, no, it's a fine discussion. You flipped the switch on me, I feel like, a little bit in front of the public, our audience.
I feel dirty. I do. I need to go take a shower right now after this. Not only do I lose in Southwest bias to Espo, and now I got to deal with this. Thank you.
Way to rep the show. Jeez.
All right. But I did partake on this exercise, and I put together a fake trade as well.
Right. I haven't seen this.
It's not much better. It's not much better. But, I've got my disclaimer, dreaming's free. I think that should be the name of our first single, Johnny. And we've got CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Joseph, a sparingly played cornerback who had a decent Pro Football Focus grade in limited snaps, for Josh Jones, Rondale Moore, and a 2023 third-round pick. Just don't think it's going to happen. I agree. I think I saw it on here. Sasquatch saying if I was Dallas, I would hang up. And it's not because Jerry Jones is old and doesn't know what's going on or where the noise is coming from.
He doesn't know how to use the phone. He uses a rotary phone.
But here's what I will say, okay? And it doesn't mean that lightning can strike twice. But the fact that the Houston Texans were willing to take on David Johnson's just awful contract and, take a second-round pick for the top receiver in the game, and DeAndre Hopkins, is just proof that crazier things have happened. I don't think that Steve Keim is even trying to go out and spruce up his wide receiver core, no matter that he's going to have no hop for 6 games.
DJ Humphries is not an option for the Dallas Cowboys. They have no money. So DJ Humphries is making a ton of money over the next couple of years. He just signed that extension. Structurally, he can't fit in Dallas's cap. Josh Jones is in his ascending player at a critical position, and I get why people don't want to deal him, and he makes no money. He's scheduled to be the Cardinals' starting right tackle next year. Can we all agree on that? Kelvin's over 30, still a very good player, but Cardinals are going to pay Josh Jones no money next year. That is enticing for Dallas because he can play both left or right tackle. On top of the fact, I think how he plays fits their offense very well in a pass-happy offense. I am playing to our audience time and time again, asking about CeeDee Lamb. What would it take to get CeeDee Lamb to Arizona? And first of all, up until this Cody Ford trade, and to a lesser extent Hollywood Brown, like I never thought that there was a real thing with Steve Keim surrounding Kyler Murray with his friends. Then they traded for Hollywood Brown and they traded for Cody Ford. Those are two of Kyler Murray's best friends. And like I love Hopkins. He's making $30+ million next year. So I think after this year, you're taking Hopkins year to year, right? AJ Green is 35 years old, right? Andy Isabella is on his way out. Rondale Moore hasn't completed a full season healthy since 2018. I'm just trying to be proactive in the sense that here's a Pro Bowl caliber player that's best friends with your quarterback. And it's not a position of need today, but I don't know. The Cardinals have never been in this position before. And I get it. That's why people said, well, we have depth, don't trade it. And this is the only kind of scenario I would do a deal for like that for. I'm not trading away Josh Jones for a rotational corner or something like that. It would have to be a kind of headline grabbing move like this. And I'm in the camp, Bo Brock, of weapons win in the NFL, and having Hollywood, CeeDee, and Hopkins this year for the end of the season, I think would put the Cardinals in a position to compete for the NFC. I really do believe that. I don't believe in AJ Green as the season goes on. I think his body wears down, and I haven't seen it from Rondale Moore at the NFL level. Hopkins and a first-round pick in exchange for TJ Watt, you doing it? I don't think the Steelers are doing that. So,
but we're here entertaining CeeDee Lamb. Let me tell you what this is kind of like, and we're both very happily married gentlemen, Johnny, you and myself, right?
Correct.
But if we were, and this is not the far-fetched part. If our wives ever just kicked us to the curb, because that's the most, logical thing, right?
I'm always like a day away from that happening anyway.
Right. And she might actually leave you for even thinking this is a legitimate trade proposal. But I would think that if this is similar to if we're batching it up, you and I'm your wingman, and Justin Verlander and Kate Upton are Splitsville, and I say, hey, Kate's available, Johnny's available. Let's make this happen.
Wow.
Just because you're both just because you're both single doesn't mean it's effing happen. Just because there's a need.
First of all,
on both, it's not.
I'm not Brad Pitt over here. I get that. Justin Verlander, he's got a lot going for him. He's multimillionaire, MLB future Hall of Famer, but like he's an average looking guy. Can we be honest about that? I was always kind of intrigued by how he landed her. So,
he won the MVP as a pitcher. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Some would say I'm the MVP of PHNX. So, apples to oranges. We'll see what happens. Appreciate that. I appreciate all of you as well divulging us. We're going to talk more Cardinal related content in a second, but college football is coming up real quick. Less than 48 hours away from week 0. Hell yes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Bet just $5 on any college football game. Get $200 in free bets instantly. That's promo code PHNX. ASU, U of A, ready to break everybody's damn hearts. Kicking off next week. Use that promo code, and you can bet on them to lose and lose a lot in the Pac-12. We digest. We joke. We love our co-hosts at PHNX Sun Devils, PHNX Wildcats. Hopefully programs on the rise. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See those show notes for details, Bo.
And let's talk about less than a week away. We're going to be hanging out at Four Peaks, another hang party for us, our last Wednesday of August. We're going to be hanging out all day long, August 31st. You can talk as many hypothetical trades with us if you want. That we won't be there or hang out with you, talk Cardinals football. The roster will be set. We'll just be previewing September 11th against the Kansas City Chiefs. Or you can talk some Yotes with the PHNX Coyotes podcast, Suns, bets with Johnny and Shane. D-backs will be there. Sun Devils will be there. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to announce our next Toast of the Month sweepstakes winner. Free stuff, meaning the next person who gets to take home a $50 Four Peaks gift card, a PHNX shirt of your choice. Like this, Johnny and I think, are wearing the same damn shirt today.
No, I got the point guard. I wear my Chris Paul gear as much as I can because he's about to be in a freaking wheelchair pretty soon because he's old and decrepit.
Well, I'm wearing my Bird Gang. I'm wearing my hat. You can also get your PHNX annual membership. You can read all the stuff behind paywall. It's such great, interesting insight onto all the teams. Just go to PHNX.com or click the link in the show notes to get yourself in for the Toast of the Month sweepstakes. There's still time. You must be 21 years or older to enjoy that sweet, sweet nectar that is Four Peaks beer. You must also be 21 to enjoy responsibly. All right. Let's just say something real serious as far as the Arizona Cardinals go.
This is
We're
serious.
talking about the wrong side of the football, for God's sake. It's been nearly the week. We were told that there was a report that the Arizona Cardinals were going to acquire a cornerback this week. What the hell happened to your boy? I don't mind that he blocked me anymore. I don't care. Like, where the hell's the trade?
For those of you who don't know, John Gambadara, Arizona Sports. He's a friend of mine. We DM regularly. He's blocked Bo Brock, but I think that happened well before Bo was a part of the PHNX family. So we're attempting to mend fences here. But yeah, it was about a week ago at this time. John Gambadara said they are going to adamantly trade for a cornerback. Here's what happened, Bo Brock. Leads us into our next segment here. Justin Pugh got hurt. He's got a stinger, and it sounds like, based on reports, they are trying to get Cody Ford up and running as fast as possible with the first-team offense. That tells me that the pick they were going to use on a corner, they had to use it on a starting guard. That's what happened. So we've got some limitations here in terms of how much you want to give up for a rotational player when you had to go out and get a starting left guard for week one. I'm a little bit concerned about Justin Pugh. I've said this for months now. Like, he was all but checked out in the offseason. He may or may not was going to retire. This is his last year. He's already getting hurt in practice. He's not going to be ready presumably for week one. They could go out and trade a 6th or a 7th or another 5th for a cornerback. I don't know if Keim has the appetite to do that. I think here's what's going to happen. Whenever you have to get down to 53 sometime in about 4 or 5 days after the third preseason game, we're going to go dumpster diving. We're going to go out back behind the Applebee's, out behind the Denny's here if you're in Maricopa. We're just going to go through all the garbage bags of corners from, Bumblefuck University, and that's who the Cardinals are going to sign. So if you expect them to bring on somebody of note, I think that time has passed. It feels like the depth chart is set, and then you've got a big fat asterisk in the fact that Antonio Hamilton is at his pediatrician all week, and we haven't heard from him at all, right? He's at his doctor, and no one knows what's going on. So I hope you guys like Isaiah Simmons covering the slot, because that's what we've got right now.
Yeah, it's very concerning. The 98.7%, I will debate that. I'll say, when you're in the news breaking business, this is part of it, and things happen that are out of your control. Your sources maybe is ironclad as they possibly can, but when you make bold statements like, "Hey, they're going to trade for a team next week," and it doesn't happen, you're going to have to kind of wear it for a little bit.
We're still on this, huh? Okay.
I'm just saying. We took it hook, line, and sinker, and we were trying to identify who it was going to be. And now we're looking at like Fabian Moreau, who was just cast off by the Texans, who, is he's not exactly lockdown CB1. He's a guy that would probably be CB4 on most depth charts, but that's what this is the Arizona Cardinals bed. And they're going to have to sleep in it.
Jason in the chat, I think, says it best though, Bo. Cards still have enough assets and a ton of cap space to make.
No doubt about it. And I think that we were talking about it leading up to our NFL draft coverage, saying, hey, this is a team that Steve Keim is probably better versed to trade picks than make picks. I think that he needs to join the less need philosophy and F them picks because he has such a solid track record of turning picks into proven commodities and guys that can make impacts now instead of drafting guys, redshirting them, and then making an impact down the road.
Claycomb in the chat. So Bo and I work for PHNX. We're grinding all day, so we don't have a chance to listen to 98.7 as much as we want. But according to Claycomb, Gamble said they're currently trying to trade for someone, but it takes two to tango. Maybe somebody better than we thought. But then there were conflicting reports, Bo, that they were going to trade for somebody who was injured that was on the bubble last week that potentially could be cut anyway, a fringe guy. Right. That was the terminology we heard doing the show a week ago on Friday. Is like, don't get your hopes up, a fringe player. So which is it? I do think that I'll make a bold prediction here. They're going to add somebody of note, either by name, draft recognition, not necessarily by play, before the start of the season, whether it's a trade or a signing. I think we're going to see a bunch of guys start to go to teams that don't have teams yet. Just like he said, listen, we're not going to go down that route. That's
98.7%. Come on. That's the track record. Look, it's a tough world to live in. That's why there aren't really anybody in the market right now that's really a true insider. So we'll take it easy on your boy Johnny. I
Be
hope it's
nice
not
to
a
him. Be
anti-take.
nice to him.
Look, it's just such a bold thing to say, and that's why I think that you don't even say, like until you've got word that it's happening. I don't understand why you say, hey, they're going to make it
What
next
about this
week.
comment right here? This is good stuff right here from Sly. Oh man, we love Gamble. We love Flex from Jersey. Flex from Jersey. Did he delete his account after Katie didn't go to Phoenix, and that was all but a done deal 2 months ago? Everybody is getting now why you got blocked by Gambo. You're just throwing too many haymakers.
What am I? Where have I overstepped here? Where am I out of bounds? Where somebody says they're going to trade for a corner next week, and the clock is ticking. We've got 3 more days left in the week, okay, and still no corner. We got a
How about this?
a
How
new
about this
left
comment right here
guard.
by KR Gordon? This is my resting face. This is my attentive face. He's not the first person to point that out. Yeah, the duck. This is just me listening to my co-host, making sure I'm getting all the good insight. 98.7%. I had not heard that. That's good stuff. All right, let's talk some football. Do you have any concern with Cody Ford starting for Justin Pugh in week 1? Because it's conceivably that's what's going to happen.
At this point, no, I think it's probably the best path forward. I mean, you've got a guy who was 265, maybe weighed less as he thought he was retiring from football. He was getting married and he was getting svelte, and good for him. He looked great on his wedding day, but it's probably not going to produce great results trying to get back up to that weight and then go up against, was it Chris Jones of Kansas City week 1? He's going to be coming at you from the interior. Probably best to get somebody big and nasty in there. I'm sure it's going to be tough, a little bit of a learning curve for Cody Ford, but I like the idea of him in there over a Justin Pugh, who's probably not 100% right now, coming off a stinger and still trying to get back up to speed. So, look, it's not ideal no matter which way you get after it, but the Arizona Cardinals, I think they had a good job in finding somebody that's familiar with the quarterback and what he's going to do, because mobile quarterbacks are tough to protect sometimes. When they get out of the pocket, you got to kind of have a sixth sense of where they're going to be in order to keep them upright. So, and Cody Ford has experience with Kyler Murray there, so you'll take it. And maybe this is something that Ford, Wally Pips, Justin Pugh, as much as we like him, and he's been a great veteran presence here. If he can kind of take that job and run with it, right out of the gates, that would be huge for the Arizona Cardinals. But, you look at his Pro Football Focus grade and his performance with the Bills, he's going to have to show something that we haven't seen so far with him as a pro, and that's being a reliable starting caliber offensive lineman.
Jason says something I agree with. I'm like, if this lingers for Pugh, at what point does he potentially hang it up? Because he's already confirmed he's done after this year. The Cardinals got cheap real fast at both guard positions, and they're paying Will Hernandez nothing. Cody Ford makes no money. And I think it's the perfect kind of solution right now in the short term, where you've got these 2 uber aggressive former top prospects in Will Hernandez and Cody Ford. You've sandwiched them in between, I think, 2, and this, I'm saying this in the best way possible, finesse level tackles that are really good at pass pro, right? And then you conceivably, these are 2 maulers, and then you've got the anchor in the middle with Rodney Hudson. I feel like this is a unique combination of offensive linemen that is best served to take on the rigors of the NFC West. With all due respect to Justin Pugh, you go up against San Francisco and LA's defensive line, and you've got to have them. Bo, you talked about this yesterday. You got to have ass kickers up front. You got to have guys that are going to muck it up. And for so long, especially like last year with Max Garcia, Josh Jones out of position, they just, sometimes the interior offensive line was kind of soft, and you didn't want to see that. And Rodney Hudson was out, and he had COVID, and he was hurt. Like this, to me at least, like Will Hernandez plays a lot of games, and Cody Ford presumably has stayed relatively healthy in his career. Kugler gets his best out of the offensive line like everybody else when he's got continuity. Just keep this group together for 17 weeks. I think this is a top 16 unit. Absolutely. And I would love to see the Cardinals pivot both Will Hernandez and Cody Ford into future contracts next year. Something tells me it's going to work out with one, if not both of them. Naj says Pugh seems like he's already ready for retirement anyway. Maybe this is just kind of ripping off the Band-Aid for the Cardinals. It's like, okay, we're going to ingratiate Cody Ford at left guard, and we're going to rock and roll. And we thought, Bull Brock, when that trade went down, I'm like, man, that's kind of rich for a player that's not going to play. Well, turns out he is going to play, and they've got to get him acclimated quickly. I mean, it's the same amount that they gave up for Zach Ertz last year after they lost Max Garcia. It's more than they gave up for Marcus Golden once upon a time. I think the Cardinals looked at Cody Ford as a player that they felt like was going to be stashed away on Buffalo's roster. They wouldn't have a chance to get him until next offseason. Now you get a head start, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah, I see somebody, saying, hey, you can't put too much stock in the Pro Football Focus grades. But look, I mean, Cody Ford was around 40, 50. Like he's not a, you can tell, it just tells you he's not a world beater right now. And this is his opportunity to kind of change the perception and why, he's not showing up as far as the grading system goes. And I'm not a big believer in Pro Football Focus grades. It's just, a guy coming from Buffalo, he didn't play in the game that was the Hail Mary. We haven't had a good glimpse of Cody Ford, so that's really all we have, and his tape at Oklahoma. So it's exciting to think about. It's nice that both Will Hernandez and Cody Ford have a little crazy in them, right? Because you want to match the unhinged that is Aaron Donald that we saw on full display today. Did you see this, Johnny? Did you see Aaron Donald pick up not one, but two? He doubled Myles Garrett at the Bengals-Rams joint practice today. Do we have video of that? Can we show that?
Yes. Yes, we do.
They're all fighting. Throwing a flag. What the hell is that gonna do?
I know, dude. Yo, he baited him. Did you guys see the beginning?
Yeah, I see the beginning. They're all fighting.
I love it. I love some people just popping some OGs and watching and being a peanut gallery on damn bro, he just baited it.
I'm going to say this 100% sincerity. He should be thrown in prison until after the Cardinals play them, their second game this year, and then he can be set free. But does anybody actually think he's going to get suspended? Am I in the minority who feel I don't think he's going to get suspended?
I don't.
Counseling, anger management counseling coming up.
The NFL has had so many opportunities to show, like, if they're going to be the judge, jury, and executioner, and they're just going to kind of go outside the lines on some things and then not on others, that they have a need for football to be successful in LA, and they know that Aaron Donald is part of them being successful, so that they're not going to do shit. It's unfortunate. They won't. Aaron Donald, this is not his first offense. He's a serial offender. We saw him put his hands on DJ Humphrey's neck. He didn't get flagged on that play, did he? But he got fined $10,000. Oh, man.
That game was in LA. That's why it was.
Yeah. It was also the Cardinals kicking the crap out of the Rams that game. It's the same thing as you see with guys who box at a very high level. To ask these guys who play with such ferocity and intensity, like, for them to just turn it off, it's impossible. It doesn't happen. Yeah. So I'm not making an excuse for Aaron Donald. Like, it's gone on for far too long. He gets this hall pass and he really gets just a slap on the wrist. If the NFL was smart, the video lives out there. It's right there in front of your eyes. And the fact that they probably, because it's on the team usually in these situations to discipline, Rams aren't going to do jack shit. In the NFL, for them to sit on their hands and hide behind some rule is stupid.
It is, but it's par for the course here. And it's unfortunate, but what's not unfortunate is our sweet lids for PHNX. We're going to talk about maybe the worst hat I've ever seen on a website that sells NFL merchandise here in a second, but I want to remind everybody, Bo talked to you about OGs. Have some OGs, safe, responsible. Also be responsible. Get a COVID-19 vaccine. They're free for everybody 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also eligible for a booster. All you got to do is visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location near you. All right, the ultimate tease here. I was on Twitter today, and I saw maybe the worst hat. And not only is it a terrible hat, but it's the official hat sideline out of the Arizona Cardinals. So we have to look at this monstrosity all season. This is via New Era Cardinals 2022 sideline 5950 ink tie-dye snapback hat. For our audio listeners, it looks like somebody, as Bo mentioned it in our chat, bled out on this hat. There's a little bit of white on the back end. There's a banner on the front that looks like something you get at your elementary school. It is the worst hat I think I've seen in recent memory. It's worse than those. Remember those hats for $59.50 used to do that had like the leather on them, and they were
Oh
like
God.
super expensive. It's worse than that. It's worse than the hats that were the trucker hats. It's worse than the hats where it was like a stocking cap, but it had a bill to it. Worse than all those.
Here's what this hat looked like for our podcast only listeners: is if you have a fresh new white Arizona Cardinals lid and it's clean, right? And then Aaron Donald comes unhinged and has two helmets and he bashes you over the head repeatedly, and you bleed out into the white lid and make it it's just soaked in your own blood. That's what it looks like. You know what it else looks like? And you might be as old as I am, Johnny, to remember when you would go out and it was mostly in Old Town Scottsdale, and people would be wearing like Ed Hardy. Do you remember the Ed Hardy shirts?
Sly in the chat just said it's got some Ed Hardy vibes.
Okay, thank you, Sly. Yes, it does have a very hard Ed Hardy vibes. Thank you, Sly, for noticing.
What's the oldest
well.
oldest person you've ever seen wearing Ed Hardy?
Oh, I mean, I think we got into the upper 70s here in Arizona for that.
Oh my God.
I mean, because they're the people that would stay in good shape for their age, and then they wanted to kind of have a younger look. And Ed Hardy was like,
get it together.
Built for that. It was built for that.
Scottsdale.
But that's what the sash is about. But it's awful. It's terrible. It looks like, anybody watch Dexter? Remember Dexter would do like the old, like he would do like the blood spew. Did you ever watch that, Johnny?
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, and he would kind of bash like a dummy's head and blood would squirt out. Like that's what
this
hat
like
reminds me.
Soaked with something. Like it's not even consistent, like the texture throughout it. It's just this was like a sample, and they're just like, well, let's mass produce it, whatever. It's garbage.
You know what this would actually be decent for?
What's that?
It'd be decent if you won the Flavoring Life sweepstakes and you had one of your 1 of 3 bags that you won from OG's brands, and you just looked at it like it was a lava lamp. Like it might be that intriguing to somebody who's had too much cannabis. The OGs, they're offering you the Flavoring Life. No King 3 J-Rock. There's no chance that hat is fire. OGs is offering the Flavoring Life sweepstakes. One winner will receive 3 bags of OGs, including orange creamsicle gummies or their tropical flavors. You can sign up right now on our website, gophnx.com. You'll win yourself an OGs hat as well, a PHNX shirt of your choice, PHNX annual membership. Click the link in the show notes. Another way to get to the sweepstakes. Check out OGs online at ogsbrands.com. Go to their Instagram and follow them along for some great updates as far as their new products and apparel at OG's Brands. You can find their products at your local dispensary. You must be 21 years or older to purchase. Man. Thank you. Yes, I apologize. King 3 J-Rock. Yes, our PHNX lids are hot. They actually are. We dropped the price on them during our PHNX summer sale. You can get it for $19.99 right now. PHNXLocker.com.
Everybody right now, do me a favor. Like this video so it gets shared around the YouTube algorithm. Sorry, I got really serious for a second. Subscribe to the PHNX Cardinals podcast. One more show before our preseason extravaganza finale, which sounds way more fancy than it'll actually be, as we break down the fight and the cut to 53-man roster. All right, Bo, you didn't know I was going to do this. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Before we send these folks home, give me a surprise cut for the Arizona Cardinals ahead of the cut to 53. Somebody that maybe we don't expect that won't make the team, because I saw a projection today for the Cardinals 53-man roster, and it had some intriguing names that did make the team. Give me one that you think doesn't make the team.
Look at that middle linebacking core, and it's thin already. So to see any of the veterans exit, hopefully pave a way for somebody like Chandler Wooten to make the team. You would hope a guy like Joe Walker is sent packing. I don't know if that's as earth-shaking as you're looking for. The wide receiver core, I think I mentioned a name like John Kirkland potentially, vying for a roster spot. It's like very slim that he would make this roster. But if somebody were to make their way, are they just tired of Andy Isabella? They feel like he's done enough probably to make this team with D-Hop's suspension looming. It's tough to see. Like, I know we've seen Darrell Williams' name bandied about. I just don't buy that. I think that this team would have put him more into a audition mode, and I didn't get that vibe all training camp long. Like he was auditioning for a role. It seemed like it was well secure. So I just think, as much as I've liked what I've seen from Keontae Ingram and Jonathan Ward, I don't think that they've made the case to say, okay, let's cut a guy who has 1,000 yards from scrimmage last season and was, solid running the ball in the red zone and catching the ball for over 9 yards per catch. So I just don't think Darrell Williams is that guy. I don't know who was the surprise cuts that you saw.
Well, I saw some surprise additions on the roster. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give you one in the secondary, and it's not just because he didn't play great last week. I think Deontay Thompson could be at risk of getting cut. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. Former 5th-round pick of that rookie class with Kyler Murray once upon a time. Number one, he's in the last year of his contract. Isaiah Simmons is playing safety. So that means that he's already bumped down on the depth chart. Charles Washington's, I think, ahead of him right now, plays special teams. And if they begin to flush this cornerback room with more options, which we think could potentially happen after the cut to 53 or after the cuts after the preseason game, how many safeties do they need? Buddha and Jalen never leave the field, right? Isaiah Simmons damn well better never leave the field. I think we've got kind of our answer with Deontay, and it's unfortunate because I remember him coming out of Alabama. He was fantastic. They talked about getting him at the top of the 5th round. Saban was raving about him. A lot of us thought he could be the next Rashad Johnson. He was a field general, played national championship teams. And I mean, he got Wally pipped by somebody who was taken with the same last name a couple months later in the supplemental draft. And it was evident since Jalen Thompson has played his rookie year, like, hey, this guy's a high caliber NFL starter, somebody that this team's going to build around. So I think Deontay Thompson's in that group. I think we're going to have a surprise at running back. I think if it's not Darrell Williams, could it be Could it be Jonathan Ward? To me, like, could they only carry 3 backs? That would be interesting. They're going to carry only 3 tight ends. How many wideouts are they going to carry? We don't have clarity on any of this. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it's the bottom of the roster. Well, the Cardinals play a ton of backs and they play a ton of receivers. So it's a question worth asking. Are you going to risk cutting Keontae Ingram or cutting Darrell Williams to keep Andy Isabella for 6 weeks while you're without DeAndre Hopkins and thus then make him inactive on game day? Those are the kind of decisions they're probably wrestling with right now. You can't be short-sighted for the start of the season without Diop. You need to make it work, and you cannot subject talent that you otherwise could develop over time. Because here's the thing. For everybody banging the drum for Andy Isabella and they think I'm a hater, I'm not a hater. But he does not have a future with this team past this year, even if he's on the team all year. They are not re-signing him. But could Keontae Ingram turn into something and he makes no money as a 6th-round pick for 4 years? If you feel like Eno Benjamin's going to be a good player, if you feel like Darrell Williams is the perfect, Kareem Hunt to your James Conner, right? And you've got a nice backfield tandem, it is not worth stashing Isabella on the bottom of your roster just in case. Because I can tell you right now, if they keep Andy Isabella and they keep 6 receivers, Bo, let's say they do that. They keep Greg Dortch and Antoine Wesley's healthy and they keep 6. The minute DeAndre Hopkins is healthy, what's going to happen to Andy Isabella? He's going to get cut from the team. They're going to release him. They're not going to carry 7 receivers. So somebody's got to go. So I think it's more likely that they carry 5 receivers without Andy to begin the season. The more I've thought about this, and then you just wait for Hopkins to slide in. Don't hamper your roster for the first 6 weeks of the season without thinking about the long-term goal of the team.
Yeah. Let's think real quick, though, about where there's some log jams, some positions that they needed to flood at necessity with numbers. And I think that pass rush, that actually is where you might see some surprising games, because think about who's locked in. And it's, obviously the junkyard dog, Marcus Golden, who we haven't seen it reportedly, according to Cliff, he's dealing with a toe, but it's really looking very similar to a DJ Humphrey situation and how he's criminally underpaid. Yeah. You got Dennis Gardeck, who they just gave 3 years, $12 million. I don't know how much, that's guaranteed, but I think Gardeck, what he does in teams and what he can do as a rotational pass rush, gives him a roster spot, no doubt about it. And then you've got 2 third-round picks who are going to make the roster, obviously, Myjai Sanders and Cameron Thomas. And then you start to look at these other guys. Victor Dimukeje has made his spot, pretty much secured it, I think, going into the regular season, right? So what does that mean for a guy who had a decent game against Baltimore like Devon Kennard? Could he be a guy that, makes no money? It's not going to cost you any dead cap space.
You think they could cut him at this point? You think they could cut?
I mean, how many outside linebackers do you want to carry? I mean,
the projection I saw today had 6 outside linebackers, 3 on each side. So you talk about Marcus Golden, Devon Kennard, Dennis Gardeck, the 2 rookies, and who am I forgetting? Is that it? So you got 5? Did I forget somebody else?
Golden, Gardeck,
Oh, Victor
Dumakaji.
Dumakaji. So that's 6. So you think all 6 of those guys are making? They're not cutting the rookies. They're not cutting Marcus Golden.
Right.
And I don't think
Right.
they're cutting Gardeck. So you're telling me if they're only going to carry 5, it's going to be Victor Dumakaji or Devon Kennard. I'm going to tell you right now, if they cut Victor Dumakaji for Devon Kennard, people, including myself, are going to fucking lose their mind next week. Because you've said it. It feels like Devon Kennard got 1 foot out. God love him. He had a nice preseason game. I acknowledge that. He's got 1 foot out ready for his next career. He's going to be very successful if you watch him. He's going to crush life after football. I'm trying to win now. Victor Dumakaji looks like somebody you could build around. He was a draft pick of Steve Keim. That's six outside linebackers. You got to make a tough decision, Bo.
Yeah, you do. And that's fine. Like, that's what you wanted, right? You wanted this decision to be tough. The guys that you brought in, the guys that you drafted, the guys that you wanted to develop, you trusted your scouts on these guys, and you wanted to be tough. You wanted them all to, excel during this training camp and this preseason. And a tip of the cap to all these guys, I think that they have, for the most part. It's going to be huge come Saturday, and we're going to preview this a little bit more tomorrow as we preview the game on Saturday, where it's going to be all young guys vying for roster spots, no starters. They've got to show up, and they've got to look just as impressive as the Cardinals looked in Week 1 last year against Tennessee, against this Titans team. It's paramount for these guys to have a big game, because I think it's going to be make or break for these guys, and that's not anything that's rattling. It's earth rattling. So. I don't know. Other than that, I just don't think that there's anything that would really surprise anybody. I was going to say this. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is going to carry 3 quarterbacks. It sounds like. I mean, just like they did last year. He says because he was a quarterback himself.
The projection I saw today had Trace McSorley making the team.
Yeah, and it just sounds like, and from a quote that I'm remembering now from him, earlier this week was because he's going to do it it's like supporting his own. Like, he's like, I'm going to keep 3 because I can keep 3 because I support quarterbacks because I was a quarterback. That's he's going to keep Trace, and he's going to keep, of course, the 2 top guys. So I don't think nobody's surprised by that.
Trace McSorley looked great against Cincinnati. Did not look good last week. But
he's really inaccurate. He's just not a very accurate thrower of the football.
But I think he deserves to be on an NFL roster. And I also think COVID still plays a part in this shit, man. Colt McCoy gets COVID, you want a backup, right? Kyler gets it again. Somebody goes down. You want somebody that can run the offense, that knows the offense. And I've seen a lot worse quarterbacks start games for this franchise than Trace McSorley. I'll just say, and he can at least got some shit, man. He's better than the kid that they started. What was Strevler? He's way better than Strevler once upon a time. And I think probably Cliff's got PTSD. He's like, well, man, I got to keep Trace because he's way better than the quarterbacks I had when I got here. And he's a young guy. I'm fine with that. It's a large roster, and then it'll get expanded. So I'm also fine with everybody here liking and subscribing. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. We are having our best month to date, and that is because of all of you, as we are ready to give you the premier elite Arizona Cardinal coverage that you can't get anywhere else. We're doing this every single chance we can get, minimum 5 shows a week. Bo's at practice. Bo will be at the games. I'm with Damian and Frank. We're giving you post-game analysis, instant reactions. Come hang out. Let your voice be heard. We're going to have tailgates at every single Arizona Cardinal home game. You're invited. Come hang out. Chug a beer with me. Do whatever you want with Bo. Have a good time. Bo's got to then walk over to the facility, so he can't have a glass of alcohol. Get that shit out of here. No one knows what that is. That's not. I don't want these people to see that garbage. But we're here, and we're doing this because of all of you. So thank you. Genuinely, thank you. We are back, Bo and I, tomorrow. Put a bow on this week and put a bow on the preseason, really, in preparation. We're going to preview Saturday night's game against the Tennessee Titans. But until then, peace, love, goodbye.